I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, and I'll apologize off the top if I look a little tired, if I look a little sick. It's because after the show last night, I went home and I went on my cell phone and I joined the Peacock streaming service. I paid the money and then I binge watched Caylee Anthony for 3 hours. And let me go through my little take on what I experienced during, I guess it was more than 3 hours, 3 episodes, during this all-night journey last night. First of all, the way I would describe this docuseries is ridiculously bizarre, because it starts as almost a love story between a woman accused of murdering her child and her defense team. Although part of this love story, and it's not a romantic love story, I mean a love story like, this is my family now and they have done all of this for me and we are joined forever, with the music playing in the background. And it's bizarre because beneath all of that, and the entire premise of this show is that she tells us in the docuseries what really happened for the first time, something that she didn't even tell to her own defense team. I mean, she's facing the death penalty. If she loses the trial, she goes to death row. That's where prosecutors want to put her. Her new story, she's like 100% innocent, and she knows exactly who is responsible, yet, for some unbeknownst reason, she doesn't tell anybody. Like her lawyers, her investigators, her mitigation specialist. Like, why would you not, if you're 100% innocent, tell the people defending you in your death penalty trial what really happened? Why would you wait till 11 years after the trial and tell it to some producer for Peacock? But that's what happened. With that said, what she said in this docuseries is that her attorney, Jose Baez, got it wrong. I'll never forget his opening statement. I mean, it changed that trial, turned it on its head. It was powerful, it was effective, but it was very specific about what happened the day that Caylee died. She drowned in the pool. George retrieved her, screaming at Caylee Anthony, "Look at what you did! Your mother will never forgive you." That's not what she says in the docuseries. That's not what she said. Her story contradicts that. It's unbelievable. Like, that's what Jose Baez told the jury. And why did he tell the jury? Did he just make it up out of thin air? Or did someone tell him, like maybe his client? What is going on? Like I said, bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So, what happens in this docuseries after she does all this and tells her story? It turns into the prosecution of George Anthony. By the time you get to the 3rd episode, it's just allegation. He's a pedophile. He molested Caylee. He killed Caylee. He's the murderer. That's the big conclusion here. But she never told anybody before the docuseries. As a matter of fact, we get to see the moment where it's all revealed with her investigator who, has taken her under his wing and has helped her in her post not guilty life. But like for the first, you don't tell them why you're facing the death penalty, what happened here? And by the way, I'm a former prosecutor, as you know. If you presented the so-called evidence that George Anthony was a killer to a grand jury, you wouldn't even get an indictment. It'd be laughable. The only evidence you would have would be the words of Caylee Anthony. Imagine hanging your hat on that. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's unreal. So, as I'm watching this, I'm wondering, how many more lies did I just experience in this all-night binge? How many more lies? Now, you know, I'm not trained in this, right? I have to base it on other things, but I kind of have a way where I can decipher when Caylee Anthony is lying. And I've deduced that it's usually when her lips are moving. You see her lips moving, she's very likely lying about something. It was unreal. I'm not trained in all this, but tonight I've got the experts who can talk all about body language, what you actually see and hear when someone is speaking, what they're really saying. Let me introduce them. In Orlando, Florida, of course in Orlando, Florida, jury consultant, human behavior expert, Susan Constantine, who was with me years ago down there when all of this was happening. Great to see you. In Loveland, Colorado, statement analysis expert, Lieutenant Robert Schaefer. Great to see you. And in Bradenton, Florida, voice stress analysis expert, Jerry Crotty. Great to have everyone here. So what we're going to do together is take a look at a little piece of what I experienced last night, and then have everyone give us a little bit of analysis of what you're seeing, what you're hearing. And I know you all watched the entire thing like I did, so you can take your comments beyond that. But let's start with this. In this three-part series, Caylee Anthony says she went to sleep with her daughter next to her, then being awoken by her father asking her where Caylee was. Caylee says she searched the house and the yard before seeing her father holding Caylee in his arms.
I can see him standing there with her in his arms and hand her to me and telling me that it's my fault, that I did that I caused that. And I just collapsed with her in my arms. She was heavy, she was cold. As I'm sitting there with her on my lap, just hysterical. Just staring at her, not knowing what to do. He takes her from me and he immediately softens his tone and tells me it's gonna be okay. That she was going to be okay. That's what he said to me. And I don't know how long I sat outside. I don't know where he went. He took her from me and he walked away.
And she continues to talk about, for folks who haven't seen it yet, that she believed Caylee was alive. And during those 31 days that we've always talked about, her and her dad were meeting up and he was telling her what to do, what to say, how to act, all of that. Unreal. All right, let's get some analysis and reaction. Susan Constantine, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first thing I noticed is, and this has been very consistent throughout all three of those documentaries, is that there's this enormous amount of anger, scorn, contempt. Disgust was the big one. You know, when you see the nose scrunching up like this, that triad of emotion is often linked with deception. So when we see this, when she's talking about our daughter, she's got this disgust. I want to share something with you. When you and I were in that courtroom that day, right? We listened to the entire trial. But when she was talking about when the human decomposition, when they opened up the trunk and that there was this odor of human decomposition, right then, Caylee Anthony showed disgust. So she's doing the same thing here again. So when she reenacted that moment, when she could actually remember what that odor smelled like, she saw the disgust. This disgust is more about her anger, her hostility that is vented towards her father. That's where that is coming from. And she's doing that because that's what fuels her annoyance. So it's a form of status, and she's trying to position herself. So the more she tries to position her status and try to appear truthful, she then ups her game, and that anger, disgust, and contempt, and that triad is always considered deceptive.
There was a ton of anger that I was feeling. Lieutenant Robert Schaefer, your thoughts?
Well, as I look at that, oh, by the way, it's good to see you. Hey, as I looked at that clip, one thing really stands out to me. What I do is look at language, the story somebody has to tell, and the way they put that story together to tell me whether the a truthful thought process or deceptive. And that portion of her story is told with a focus on emotion. It's she doesn't give a factual account. And there's facts involved, but her goal there is to convey emotion, which is kind of related to what Susan was saying. And when a person recalls from memory, and that would be a truthful statement, that's not necessarily what they do. They want people to understand what happened. She's more concerned about conveying emotion, how she felt, how she was made to feel, rather than the facts of what actually happened. So that would be symptomatic of a suspicion of deception.
Jerry Crotty, your thoughts?
Well, I get to analyze what she says through a computer program. And what I'm looking for is that conflict in the brain. When people are being truthful, there is no real conflict. It just comes out very smoothly, and it's spontaneous and everything else. And so when I analyze a lot of her statements, as you will see, that you will see this conflict on her through most of her testimony that she gave during her documentary. And you know, it's just fascinating to watch, just like you said.
What do you mean by conflict? Explain that just a little bit.
Okay, so you have two sides of the brain. You got, and I'll just kind of like make it easy. You have two sides of the brain. You got one side of the brain that's, let's just call it pure. It basically runs your heart, it runs your lungs, it does everything it's supposed to do, and it does it all automatically. Then you got the other side of the brain that's a little bit devious, and that's the side where deception comes from. And when a person decides to lie, there is this reaction in the brain. One side says do it, the other side says we're not doing this today. But unfortunately, you can push it through, and what ends up happening is that stress, that reaction, that conflict that occurs in the brain, it goes out throughout the body, and that's what everybody's looking at here. I get to see it through the voice, and Susan gets to see it in the body, and Bob gets to see it through their language, what they're saying. And so it's really important the way that we do these things, and it's just, this is very fascinating to me what she said.
Now, Susan, one thing that I noticed just looking at, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on in her face, and I noticed a lot of times she would finish saying something and kind of do a little thing with a little lip. I would see that a lot. It would be like at the end of a thought or something, and then it would stop, and then the camera would stay on her for a second, and it started jumping out at me. The other thing is this furrowed little brow in the middle here. Like sometimes it was like deeper than the Grand Canyon in there. What do those things mean? What do they mean, if anything? You see it sort of in the first two here, but I saw it even deeper.
Yeah, so anytime you see an asymmetrical movement, especially with the mouth, that's associated with contempt. But what she does is it's more like almost uncertainty. You know, it's almost where she bites the side of her mouth. It happens right after a statement. So when she says something and then she can hold it for a certain amount of time, then the duping delight pops out. You see the side movement, that the asymmetrical movement, which is doubting the words that she said. So she doesn't believe it, but she's trying to pull it off. Right, so that cognitive load, it's building up, and then it releases right at the very end. And that's also what you see in the furrowed eyebrows. Furrowed eyebrows are when somebody's under a lot of tension, right? They're angry and they're tension, and their eyebrows are coming down, right? So when you're upset about something, you're sad, which is what I would expect to see, her eyebrows would turn up, but it furrows in. So she's constantly in this state of anger and contempt, this triad of emotions, which is fueled by her inter-hostility. So that side contempt is partly, is a more of a complex emotion. So it's contempt, moral superiority, but it's also self-doubt. And she's trying to convince rather than convey, and it actually comes out in droopy delight on the side of her face.
Lieutenant Robert Schaefer, I want you to take a listen. This is Jose Baez, that opening statement that I referenced. Here's a piece of it. Because to me it was significant, because this was the game changer in the trial. It was powerful. It turned everything on its head. Let's listen to it one more time.
How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before ever reporting her child missing? It's insane. It's bizarre. Something's just not right about that. Well, the answer is actually relatively simple. She never was missing. Caylee Anthony died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in her family's swimming pool. You're going to hear that Caylee loved to swim, and Caylee could get out of the house very easily, and it escalated.
A couple of things pretty amazing in that clip, because in the docuseries, she says she had no idea what he was going to say, and she didn't know that he was going to get into everything that he did. But Lieutenant, let me ask you, here, Jose Baez, very specific in what happened. That story has changed. I know as a lawyer, you cannot just say whatever you want in your opening statement. It has to be based upon something. The only person who could tell him what happened would be Caylee Anthony. How do you account for the statement seemingly changing from what her attorney said to what she said?
Well, I think that in my impression, based on the way he states things, that he probably wasn't sure right up to the last minute, or at least right the final hour, exactly what the defense was going to be. And so what I understand about some other things that I've seen, that she was not clear with him exactly what that was going to be, and that was kind of a final decision that they just had to run with. I think they felt that they could build a good enough case with that, with the information that they had. But he absolutely depends on her to decide what that defense is going to be. And I noticed that one thing about that is that he stated that he described her in the third person. He says, what would cause a mother to do this? And although as though she's not really a person, it wasn't specific to her. So what would cause a mother to wait 30 days? So he wasn't specific to Casey. And so there's, that's what we call lack of commitment.
That's fascinating.
Talking about somebody in the third person is a lack of commitment.
Absolutely.
That shows that he doesn't even really believe, you want to put it that way, what she had to say.
Unbelievable. All right, Susan, Constantine, Lieutenant Robert Schaefer, Jerry Karate staying with us. We've got more analysis, especially when we get to the accusations against George Anthony. That is next. But first, coming up next hour. Tonight, two juries in two different cities deciding two big cases. First, in Los Angeles, California, star of that 70s show, Danny Masterson, accused of raping 3 women, all former members of the Church of Scientology. Then in Pike County, Ohio, the Pike County Massacre, George Wagner IV, accused of plotting with his family to take part in the mass murder of another family.
In 2018, a killer walked the streets of Laredo, Texas.
He took advantage of the vulnerability of this community.
I mean, there was a lot of fear.
Former Border Patrol agent Juan David Ortiz, accused of killing 4 women.
Ortiz carried out these murders in a cold and callous way.
Now he faces a jury and life in prison if convicted.
The Border Patrol Serial Killer Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings at 9/8 Central on Court TV.
Casey has a brother, and he too wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. And on certain occasions when he was a teenager, he attempted to also touch his sister. And some of this behavior, you'll realize that the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. We are what we are because of who brought us into this world and how we were raised. Casey was raised to lie.
Caylee Anthony's attorney, Jose Baez, told the jury his client was molested by her father and her brother as a child. And now, 11 years after she was found not guilty of murdering her daughter, Casey addressed the same accusations in the Peacock docuseries, Caylee Anthony, Where the Truth Lies.
When I was 8 years old, my father started to come into my room at night. I was physically hurt scared because I was physically hurt and I can't tell mommy what happened. She'll get mad at me. That's what I was told. With my father, the abuse one day just stopped, just before my 12th birthday. My brother started coming in shortly after I turned 12. And it stopped around the time I turned 15. Wasn't the same thing that happened with my father. My brother never raped me, no. No, absolutely not. But it was close enough. Close enough where there was a pattern.
But you did tell your mom about Lee.
I did not.
Now, she also makes one more accusation of rape in the docuseries, and that is by Caylee's father. The story is she went to a party, someone slipped her something, knocked out, no memory at all. I don't even think she knows who the father was, according to what she said in the docuseries. So she's raped by her father, molested by her brother, and then raped by the father of Caylee Marie, who is someone who, to this day, we still don't know who it is. Okay, let me bring back in my experts. Susan Constantine, human behavior expert, jury consultant. Lieutenant Robert Schaefer, statement analysis expert. Jerry Crotty, voice stress analyst expert. We just heard her there accuse her brother and her father. Jerry, I'll start with you. Do you hear that same conflict during this part of her statements?
Yes, I was able to run this through the computer to see what came up and to kind of give you an idea what these things look like. If there's no stress associated with the word, looks like this Christmas tree over my shoulder here. It's just a pointy top, looks just like a Christmas tree. If it looks anything other than a Christmas tree, that's when we start to kind of pay attention to it. This statement that she made was not very many Christmas trees. There was a lot of stress associated with it. And I want to say that this is a different type of stress. This isn't from, you know, recalling incidents or anything like that. I have examined multiple individuals, probably close to 1,000 individuals. And if they have nothing to worry about what they're saying, that information should flow freely from the individual, and there should be no stress created from it. And so, yes, I did see some rather interesting output on that one.
Susan, your thoughts about what we just saw?
Well, one of the things that stood out to me was there was no eye movement. You know, when we think about Clinton, when he was accusing Monica Lewinsky, her eyes never moved. You would expect for her to, when she's recalling something, your eyes are going to shift. It's going to go back into memory and replay the tape. And Jerry really talks to that really well in our training class. But that was one of the major things that I saw. Again, anger. So you would have expected her to feel shameful, embarrassed, but her eyes were very fixated. There was no rapid eye blinking, which you should have seen because that was a very stressful situation. That would have been more consistent than the staring eyes.
All right, we're out of time for tonight, but I just want to go around the horn one time really quickly. At the end of the day, after watching everything and analyzing it, 0 to 10, 10 being the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, 0 being nothing but lies, what's your number? Susan?
80% of it is lies, 20% truth.
Lieutenant Robert Schaefer?
Yeah, I would have said 70-30.
70-30. Jerry?
I'm going to give you one better than that. I was waiting for her pants to burst into flames. So that's very much
pants
very much it.
On fire. Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time, your insight, your expertise. Great job, everyone. Thank you so much.